Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar with SkyTouch Technology today. My name is Levente. I'm a customer success manager here at Midori, and I'm joined today by George from SkyTouch. Thanks for joining me, George. I really appreciate you doing this.
My pleasure, Levente. I'm excited to be part of this, and I am very interested in this tool, and it's done a lot for me. So I hope we can cover that information today.
Absolutely. Thanks again. So we will talk about SkyTouch in detail in a minute. I just want to start us off by saying that SkyTouch is a leader in hospitality technology. Their main product is a cloud-based property management system that many hotels around the world choose as a platform to operate their businesses on. And I invited George to learn a bit more about how SkyTouch uses Atlassian tools in daily project management and how they use the Better Excel exporter for Jira app to make data-driven decisions. If you just started out with Better Excel exporter or just thinking about starting your free trial on the Atlassian Marketplace, this conversation will be especially useful. We will talk about why George and his team chose this app for exporting Excel from Jira and show you a bit how they use it at their company in their daily work. If you have questions, you can use the live chat feature or leave a comment below the video. We will make sure to cover all your questions either during the webinar or we get back to it after. And before I turn it over to you, George, just want to take 30 seconds to say a word about Better Excel Exporter for those who haven't heard about it. So Better Excel Exporter is a Jira app made by Midori. Midori is a dedicated Atlassian app vendor with 7 apps on the Atlassian Marketplace. We've been on the market for more than 10 years now, and we currently hold a Gold Marketplace partner status. Better Excel Exporter helps you create native Excel exports and reports from Jira data. It works with highly flexible and customizable Excel templates, so you can create any type of Excel reports to analyze your Jira data and make it more consumable. It's integrated with many other popular Jira apps like Tempo, Zephyr, Insight, Script Runner, and others. So you can combine your data with data that's coming from these third-party apps, or you can connect to outside systems even programmatically to pull data from and present in your Excel reports. It's one of the highest rated apps, so I really recommend checking it out on the Atlassian Marketplace. So, George, I read up a bit about the background of your company, and what stood out for me is that you are really an innovator in a fairly traditional industry. Your parent company is a franchisor of hotel properties, and it was the first to introduce features like all hotels having non-smoking rooms, 24-hour online reservation, and online property management system, which, as I read, it led to the creation of your company, SkyTouch. And I also love that you are good stewards of the environment, mandating hotels to lower their environmental footprint by switching to energy efficient technologies and so forth. So can you tell us a bit more about SkyTouch and your products and maybe your role specifically there?
Thank you. Yes, we'd love to. So SkyTouch Technology was born out of the need that we saw in the industry as far as hoteliers are concerned. We wanted to provide the ability for hotels to run their business as they wanted to run their business, but also give them the tools in that industry. As you've already pointed out, we launched in 2013, as the screen shows, and after following up after that, we had several features develop immediately after that based on customer feedback. So the first thing was the SkyTouch Guest Experience Program, which allowed the hotels to create their own guest rewards program inside of the property management system, or the PMS, which is very useful because they can create their own reward programs with customers and create that returning revenue for their hotels. As we move through the industry, you'll notice that EMV is also becoming an industry-wide standard across all payment platforms. So EMV was a big project for us that we shipped out on 2016, and now all our hotels and franchisees, are now using EMV chip card readers to process all their payments. We partner with several payment platforms, one of them being Shift4, payment methods. And then we always try to integrate industry-leading technology into our platform. And right now we are partnered with AWS and AWS vendors in order to provide the best functionality and speed to that platform as much as possible. And always having that 24/7 availability for their PMS is very useful, and letting them connect online wherever they can means that they can run their hotel outside of the actual physical building, and they can check in or check out customers actually from their phone, from their tablet, wherever they're located. And maybe eventually in the future, we're working on contactless check-in and even letting the guests check themselves into the room, but that's in the future development. I see that you have Slash Connect in there as well. That lets us connect to many vendors through our PMS and through online integrations, anything from CRMs or customer relationship management tools, as well as integrating with online travel agencies as well. And right now we're at over 7,000 properties installed worldwide and that are using our platform, either the SkyTouch HOS platform, or we're providing the software for that platform for them to use. We handle everything from reservation booking integration, like I said, on online travel agencies, payment processing, and every single operation that a hotel would need in order to run their property. Guest reservations, check-ins, any accommodation modifications, like modifying the room types, like you mentioned, non-smoking room types, housekeeping management, maintenance, and etc. And yeah, so that's a quick overview of what SkyTouch Technology is all about.
That's perfect. And what is your role specifically in SkyTouch?
Right now, my role is IT project manager. My key roles are reporting project status as far as software development goes, weekly, bi-weekly, or within monthly intervals. My key, I guess, on top of that, I resolve or deal with team issues and resourcing constraints and project requests, identifying upcoming roadblocks for the team. I need data for that, so it helps us succeed, and I would then mitigate those risks with those teams and the stakeholders, and also communicating that valuable data to stakeholders and leadership so that they can make those important data-driven decisions that impact the organization as a whole. I also ensure, or our group also ensures, the PMO group, we ensure that our SDLC and company best practices are being adhered to. And as the PMO, we are essentially the guardians of process, and helping others understand and follow that process is our goal.
Right. It sounds great. Communicating data and supporting decisions will something that we will touch on just in a minute. So, in about Atlassian products, what Atlassian products are you currently using? How long have you been using those, and exactly what problems are you solving with them?
Thank you. So we've been using Jira for our ticket management system, Confluence, and the Bitbucket suite. We've been using them since 2015 or 2016. And prior to Jira, we had been using a previous ticket system that was a little bit clunky, and we needed something that we could also customize on our end, and it was easily usable and trained on for other people outside of PMO or other technical personnel that were very familiar with ticketing systems. With Jira, it lets us create different issue types, provided us with an easy method of linking those issues and writing those notes and making sure that everyone could understand what information that they were looking at and how they related to other interdependent issues. Confluence, we use it mostly as a knowledge base source of information, and it's very useful for different groups as well. For example, the PMO group will keep things in their space in Confluence to keep track of projects, report project status, and projects life cycle, so that everyone that needs information regarding projects can go into those spaces, and others use it for just knowledge-based stuff, where we can go in there and find information related to either the company or tickets or development KT essentially. And then Bitbucket repo is what we use, our code repository.
All right, and I understand you use Excel to communicate data in forms of reports. So what made you start evaluating Jira apps for exporting Jira data to Excel, or for creating reports? What is it that you really use these reports for?
Right. So what started my journey as far as finding Midori and the better Excel exporter for Jira was I was using the in-house tools that Jira provides to provide essentially a project landscape for stakeholders because we wanted to use Jira tools and report them. And of course, they're free. So with free stuff, with all free stuff, it's not always 100% usable, or you have to customize it either manually or it's very technically inclined. For example, I was using the Jira gadgets and dashboards in order to report information about the data and visibility into the projects I was working on, but there are limitations with what those gadgets could do. They, for example, they do not support custom fields that are not a specific type of statistical. They only report on things where you have to select certain fields. It can't be customizable, or it just would not render. We needed a way to aggregate the data in multiple ways and not just linearly, which I like about Excel is it lets you use these, like, for example, pivot charts or other different types of line graphs, and you can highly customizable information. For example, also the gadgets will let you pick X and Y values and display them that way with a summarization method, and that's it. The choices for X and Y are also limited to the Jira system fields. You can't customize those in any way. And then reporting in Jira is also limited without add-ons or plugins. There is agile reports, but again, not customizable, not configurable. It's pretty much what you get out of the box is what you're stuck with. And we use Excel because Excel on its own has a multitude of tools and charts and aggregation data or aggregation tools that you can use to report this data. Like, for example, I've already mentioned pivot charts. You have formulas in Excel to summarize all that data as well. So combining that ability from Excel with the data that we have in Jira, I just saw a huge opportunity to be able to do things automatically without us manually going in there every time we export a CSV and customizing that report each time we pulled it out. And with Midori, I think we found that solution.
All right, and I think we understand in general what you use Excel and the Excel reports for. Can you give us we will turn to a little bit of demo in your system, and now we will see firsthand if I turn the control over to you. But what kind of, can you tell us an exact example of a report that you're creating for Jira, or an export that what kind of data or what the report is actually about?
Sure. Yeah, totally. So one report that we run monthly is our PMO dashboard report. And I have a sample of that report that I'll show. But essentially what that tool does, or what I did, I saw a need in our group, basically, where we would spend an hour or more than an hour pulling all of this data from Jira, combining our sheets. And then what we would do is we would collect the amount of stories we've completed over a month's time, the story point values that were completed, and how much time it took to complete those story point values. And then we also took care of reporting the amount of defects that come out of the software. And we wanted to show trends over month, but that also requires exporting a large amount of data, manipulating that Excel file, and then creating the charts and graphs the way we needed them to be. So that can be very time consuming. And that's one example of how we use the Excel exporter to just click a button, export the file. Excel does everything for me, and I just copy paste the data as I need it and paste it into Confluence the way it needs to be there. And I turned a 1 hour task into literally 5 minutes. Also, at the end of our sprints, we do like to show our development teams and also the development stakeholders what it looks like bi-weekly. So what we show them, or the team, is we want to show them how their estimates are going towards what their actuals are. And what I mean by that is story point values assigned to expected, assigned to expected or committed to hours versus what is actual committed to hours, so that the team can understand how their estimation is aligning with what actual hours are connected to. And what we're hoping to achieve with that is letting them know where we see improvement, and how can we target that, and understand if a 13-pointer is only taking us 2 weeks and a day, but an 8-pointer is also taking us 2 weeks and 2 days. What are we missing in these stories? And then driving us to actually look deeper and ask those questions and have those discussions with the team and also stakeholders. And those are 2 examples. I'm also working on some customized reports, but those are a little bit in draft mode. But those are 2 examples of how I use the Excel exporter and what kind of exports I'm looking at.
All right, it sounds pretty exciting. Do you want to maybe take over and show us in your system, how do you create these reports?
Sure. So I can show you the sprint export. Just give me 1 second. So the first thing we need to do is I created a filter to just make it easy for me inside of Jira. So whenever I click on this filter, it already has pre-populated the issues I want to look at. So right now I'm looking at a dev team called Pirates, and I'm looking for any story that has story points for a certain date range and making sure that those stories are done. And this is excluding epic issue types. So right now I'm just exporting stories, and the easiest way to do this is just go to export, and you'll have a list right here. So I have some customized reports in here, but the one I want to look at is the sprint review PowerPoint data export. And what that does, it collects the information that's on my filter results. It lets me save it. Once I save it, I open it. And this is what it looks like. So I've customized this to populate the way I want to populate it. So again, you can, if I wanted the issue key to start first, it's an easy copy paste, save the file, upload it, download again, and you can rearrange this the way you want to. And I'll get to why I rearrange it this way in a minute. So with this one, it's collecting all my issue summaries. It's giving me my story points, original estimate versus time spent, the sprint it's located in, and resolution date. And this is where I get the historical information from, which will tell me the story points, the original or estimate based on the dev estimate, and then also the average time spent for each story. And what's cool about this is this used to take us a long time, depending on whoever was doing it. More experienced people or PMs could probably do it a lot quicker, but what I got from the team is that this takes a long time for us. How can we solve this? And what I developed was that custom export, and essentially turned a task of them having to aggregate all this data is just copy, going into the actual template that we have, and then just pasting what they need. So if I delete this, and then that's what I have. So it's,
Well, yeah.
oh, I did it wrong. Yeah. So yeah, I just go in here and paste it, and then it pretty much turns a huge task into something that was just a huge task into now just a 3-minute task. And that's my historical values versus the sprint values. So that's one example of how I export the data from my sprint teams. So the other export uses actual data in our system. So I had to create a custom report, so I can't show how I exported that, but I put in fake data just so I could show you what this PMO dashboard would look like. Following the same process though, I would just go from Jira and I would just select the export. I would use my PMO dashboard Excel file or export, and it would turn out like this. So this is my export, and then by default, it would break it up. This is my operational task. So this actually breaks up our different tasks that we use in our PMO, as far as when a team is not working on a task within a sprint, they have to log their time to another task. And those tasks are separated or identified by task types. And you'll see on the right-hand side over here that I have sprint ceremony meetings, time off, support task type, release, environment issues, environment setup, and documentation. And on the left-hand side, this is the number of hours, and this is across our entire dev shop, essentially. And these are the type of hours that we're spending on these individual tasks. And then for our defects, this is also reports. So our total defects resolved month by month, the number of issues, and defects that are resolved within warranty. So we have something called a warranty process that when a development team completes an issue or project, they are responsible for addressing those defects within a 3-month warranty period. And these are the defects that are resolved during that warranty defects that are resolved during that warranty period. And those are 2 exports.
These are really great examples. Yeah.
So I just wanted to show really quick how we would be able to upload or actually view the Excel templates. So there are a couple ways to do that. The easiest way for me, and just by the way, we're using Jira Server. We're not using Jira Cloud. I'm not sure if the functionality is different between the 2, but I use a hotkey. I go to Excel, and it shows you views and templates. So as you'll see, I already have templates up there. So I'll go to Excel views. Your Excel views are what actually show up inside of that search bar where I was just at. So when you modify an Excel view, you're essentially telling the system to show you your options right here. So that's what Excel views is. Your Excel templates are the templates that you customize and create inside of Excel and upload here so that the Excel views can use those. So whenever you click on that list, it's going to use the templates that you identify or assign to that Excel view. I'm not, so now those are my templates. Those are the exports I drive, Levente. Is there anything else that you would like me to show you as far as my templates go?
Yeah, if you're up for it, I think it would be really interesting to see one of the customized if you want to pull up a template that you worked on recently, and if you want to just quickly explain what did you do and how did you do it, or how difficult was it for you?
Sure. So I use the reference tool that you had on your website that explained all the different fields within Jira and how you could use them. I don't have that pulled up and I forgot where I put it.
Yeah, don't worry. We will post the link for the reference manual down below the video, yes. So you can just grab it and use it.
Right. So using that reference manual, which is super helpful, because it just turned into, okay, what field am I interested in, and then copy paste. Even for the custom fields, that made it super simple, because for me, I can go inside of Jira and let's say I had a custom field, and I'll show those viewing right now how easy that is. So if I created a custom field, like for example, we have something called Epic Link, which is a custom field. Just typing that into the search bar, it shows you a CF custom field number and then the actual digit that's assigned to it. And all you would do is switch out what that that reference manual has, and you would just put in what your custom field is in there. So I would just give a title to the column. I would use whatever custom field number I wanted to use, and then save this and upload it as a template. So what I did is I just created my own report, give it its own title for the columns, use this from the reference as well. And right now what this report is essentially doing is any issues that are listed inside of the filter or my search bar. So essentially anything that's listed in my search results, that filter or that export is going to aggregate them all. So aggregate all the results using this custom template. So it'll fill out all this information for me. And the original estimate, so time spent. So this is essentially my sprints export that I use at the end of every sprint, so I can explain to the teams where we're going and where we're headed and how we're doing right now. And for as far as complexity or effort, this was super simple. As long as you read the instructions that you actually have on your website, which are really easy to follow, you even have example exports that you can actually look at and get ideas for how you want to report your data. So you're not stuck in just what you have. You let us customize it, which I really do appreciate, and you provide us the tools to actually customize the reports really simply. And I think the support is awesome too, because if you guys respond really quickly. And then again, I just copied this from one of your sample exports inside of Jira. And this essentially is telling me to use a certain script, which is installed once you install the app inside of Jira. So once you use that script, it lets you use the different commands in here. And then again, you can use pivot charts. And the pivot charts, if you're familiar with Excel, are super simple. All you have to do is use the actual field name that you have in here to create those pivot charts. It might take some trial and error to get it to look just like you want, but it's super simple. And if I can turn a 1-hour task into 5 minutes, it's worth the time, in my opinion.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but there is something called the dev mode for Better Excel Exporter, which allows you to not so skip the uploading part. So you can set up Better Excel Exporter in a way to feed the templates from your file system. So you can just work on your template, save it, and export. And without uploading anything to Jira, you can just feed the template from the file system. There is a section in the documentation about how to set Jira up for this. So we will link to that below the video. All right.
I did not know that that was there. I must have missed it, but thank you. I'll go ahead and take a look at that. Thank you, Levente. I would say that the first most important thing, I think, for any project manager or for anyone is your time. Your time is the most valuable asset you have. And if you can save even just 10 minutes in my day as a project manager, it gives you 10 minutes to follow up on critical issues that are important to your teams individually, or also data. By allowing me to look at data holistically, by aggregating all that data from projects or from a singular project, which can include a multitude of individual team tasks, user stories, bugs, and subtasks into one file. It lets me export everything at a click of a button, look at all of it in the way that I expect it to be presented, and making a decision immediately instead of having to sift through all my epics or all my initiatives or all my requirements and trying to figure out what am I missing, what is critical to my team right now, what do I have to go do first. And by analyzing what you're doing and then just putting in the time to create a template, or even using the template that you already have and just taking that 5 minutes, you save yourself hours of work as long as you take a look at it and actually process that information. Also, we didn't go over it, but there is also a tool that I'm using. It's called Automation for Jira, which Midori integrates with. And that is super valuable because all I have to do is create a template once, set up automation once, and now I have a report bi-weekly. I can have it daily, and I could just be limited to the issues that I think are critical to me every single morning. And I just sit there and look at this file that was created for me while I'm sipping my cup of coffee. So time, data aggregation, as well as the automation, yes. And then it's just, there are several things, but yes, time, automation, and just data aggregation, I think is what I found valuable about this.
Automation for Jira is a really good and valuable stuff, and it's really exciting. That I think we should get back to that topic in another webinar, because that really deserves its own time. Thanks, George. These were, I think, really good hands-on examples that we all learned a lot from. So I think it's a good place to wrap up. Thank you again. You can also, as we mentioned during the webinar, you can find relevant links and further information in the description. Thanks again, George, for joining me today. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you, Levente.